When the error code 1 appears on the display, we have devices to check. This one is our motor hole sensor detector to check the motor. And this one is our PCB kit to check the hole sensor. During the check-in of the error code 1, we will need to check the motor cable, and also the motor. We have 24 volt motor and 36 volt motor. And also we require some hand tools for the check-in. This is the error code 1. For error code 1, it might be possible that the motor cable is loosened, so we need to check if the cable is well connected. Because during the riding, the cable gets loosened very easily. So we just re-plug again the motor cable. And now we slot in the battery again to give the power and switch on the display to see if the error code 1 is still there. After step 1, we replug the motor cable, but if the error code 1 is still there, then we will need to check the motor. It could be possible that the motor is defect. So if motor hole sensor is damaged, then we have to disassemble the motor to replace a new one. Firstly, take off the nuts from the motor and disassemble the whole wheel out of the bike. After we have loosened all the screws, we take out the motor and put a new motor into the wheel. When we are going to assemble the motor, we have to pay attention that we need to put washers. Firstly is 1.5 mm washer. This washer is to avoid the scratch between motor and front fork. Then one stamping, and then one nut. The other side of the motor is also the same, that we need to put a C-ring and one stamping, and then the nut. From the both sides, the stampings must outside to get close to the front fork. As well, this cable, this crank must upwards, so it will not be twisted. After the motor is assembled back to the bike, we need to tighten the nut, and the tightened torque we apply will be 350 kgfm. For both of the sides, we apply the same torque to tighten the nut. Now we're going to connect the cables with the device. So firstly, we take off the front cover of the controller. Here we can see the cables. Now we are going to use the device to check if the motor hose sensor is defect. So we plug the motor cable terminal and connect with this device. Now the test starts. We rotate the wheel backwards. And if the 3 LED lights flash, the yellow, green, blue lights flash, then the motor hose sensor is okay. The red light stands for the speed sensor. If the controller is defect, then we change a new controller. Firstly, we take off the front cover of the controller. And loosen the screws connected with the carrier. When all the screws are loosened, we pull out the battery first and pull out all the cable terminals. Then we take out the controller. Before we put in a new controller, we have to check the spec, if it's a 24 volt controller or a 36 volt. We can compare what's stated on the battery, where you can also see the spec. Before we tighten all the screws, we slot in the battery on the right positions first, to make sure there's no gap between controller and battery. Now we plug all the cables back. Make sure that the cables are pressed onto the groove. And now screw the front cover back to the controller.